Is that better? Yeah, okay. I'm going to do a video about renewable energy, so called, and heat pumps. Um, I'm not a Luddite, and I do think technology can make a difference to our life and can be a positive experience. I've learnt a lot from using the internet. I don't understand how it works. I don't understand how they make computers. It's all way over my head. Um, I think probably we'd all be better off without them if no one had them. I don't think my life would be worse if there were nothing like a computer. I think our life would be better. I'm not too sure what the overall benefit to human beings is in all this technology. For example, AI is, in my opinion, something bad. I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it's needed. It's actually going to stop us thinking for ourselves. It also uses an enormous amount of energy. And we're constantly being told, save energy, save the planet, save this, save that. And yet they keep on doing things that will increase the energy load. Now, I think we picked a war with Russia for no reason. NATO expansion was always going to lead to instability, even though the principle of NATO as a defensive alliance makes some kind of sense, in theory at least. But if you create enemies by expanding NATO, then in a way NATO is doing the exact opposite to what it should do. What we want is a safe world where everybody stays in lane, where people respect each other's national sovereignty, where countries such as Ukraine, which are completely unsuitable for NATO membership, and which have a 50-50 split between those who look east and those who look west, should never, ever, ever have been invited to join NATO and the EU. Another thing is they bring almost nothing to the table except debts and geopolitical instability. And that's why countries such as Georgia, even though they have significant issues with Russia, they actually have rejected the EU overtures, and they've seen what goes on in the EU with sex change operations for children and transgenders in women's prison, transgender rapists and whatnot, and drag school, story hour, and all this is being done with government permission, not just with the Labour Party, but with the Tories as well. A lot of people seem to think that all these things are quite new and have just been created by Labour, but the Tories did it as well. The Tories allowed all this. And now we're moving to road pricing. So I want to do a little upload on heat pumps. First of all, caveat, a disclaimer, I admit I'm no engineer, but I do have common sense. So I'm going to try and make up for my lack of engineering know-how by now at the moment the so-called COP of heat pumps can go up to 4 or sometimes higher, although in real world it's often less. But let's just use COP as now energy prices. Gas is about electricity is about 4 times more expensive than gas. So there isn't a lot of saving to be made. But on the plus side, the government have given a grant of something like £7,500 to people so that they can get now. Whether or not this is a sensible use of taxpayers' money, I don't know, because as soon as you add government money to the equation, prices go up because they can charge more. So what might happen is that, let's say something could be done for 10,000. If the government gives a £7,500 grant, then the total cost you'll pay will be 12,500 because they're going to base the price on what it costs the consumer, and the consumer won't know how the price is being fixed. Now there are people out there who've suggested that they can get a heat pump, an air source heat pump, cheaper. That may be the case depending on any retrofit you've got to do. There's also issues such as double and triple glazing, wall and roof insulation, the size of your radiators, whether they need to be improved, whether you've got a new build or not. There are multiple factors. Right now I've got my windows open even though it's Christmas Day. And I've got my windows open, and actually that has lowered the humidity in the room. Opening your windows lowers the humidity in the room, and one of the worst things for your body is humidity. Damp in winter is very bad for the breathing. So opening, it's counterintuitive. Yes, Opening the windows does make the room colder, but on the plus side, it lowers the humidity. So if you open your windows for 20 minutes every day, even in midwinter, then the overall benefit will be that you get a drier air, but it will cost a bit more in energy to heat up. But again, at the moment in my room it's 12 centigrade, and because I've got three dressing gowns on, I'm not cold at all. I can't see the condensation of my breath, so it's still warm enough so that it isn't really a health hazard. Perhaps if I had some sort of illness or something, it may be an issue. But I find I'm quite comfortable at 16 or 17 centigrade. I don't need any higher than that. Now, at the moment, there's a bit of a story online. Now, I'm interested in this. I've got nothing else to do. It's Christmas Day. I like to. Everyone's got a right to my opinion. I mean, one guy was saying on his channel, "Oh, thanks a lot for coming here. Every time we get a comment, it boosts the algorithm." And then I made some messages on his channel, and then he said, "Oh, why are you here on Christmas Day? Don't you have something better to do?" So you can't really win with these people. I do think that most of the heat pump channels have a dog in the fight, i.e., they're trying to get people to take up the heat pumps. And of course, the idea that you can get energy for free is a good one. I mean, the concept of heat pumps is that you transfer heat from the outside to the inside, or vice versa, depending on the weather, and therefore it's like free energy. But again, there's certain other factors that need to be considered. The cost of the heat pumps. How much do these things cost? The disruption to your daily life it will take to install them. How many days will it take to install? And also, because these things are highly technical, you do need the ability to fully understand your system. Now, to show you how ignorant I am, I don't fully understand how to use my central heating. So if I either turn it on or I turn it off, I know I can change the temperature and so on. That I can do. But for example, there's a timer there that presumably I could use, but I don't really know how to use it, although I could look it up, I guess. I don't have too much energy need. Again, if I had 4 or 5 children and they all played football and their washing machine had to run, if I had a dishwasher, I don't have a dishwasher. If you've got 5 or 6 bedrooms and everybody's taking long hot showers or baths and stuff, then your energy needs will be increased. A lot of people, especially women, apparently need a higher ambient temperature to feel comfortable. But I personally prefer a cooler temperature, especially at night. I don't like to sleep in a warm room. I sleep much better in a cool room. Again, the issue is damp. Anyway, OVO apparently have increased their energy prices and they've removed the special tariffs that they were given for heat pumps and so on. Now, a lot of people bought heat pumps based upon the mathematics, i.e., they seem to kind of ignore that if you had £25,000 to kill, if you put it in an ISA or some sort of investment, one of the more stable investments, you'd get a lot of money back in interest. So I don't really see how mathematically buying a heat pump, especially if you pay for it entirely yourself, makes any savings. But the idea behind all this is to save the planet. Now, 90% of people who have heat pumps, probably more, have a car and also probably take long distance holidays. This increases massively their carbon footprint. The idea that buying products made in continental Europe or China, which contain a lot of rare materials and which do not have an indefinite lifespan, somehow saves the planet is stupid. I keep reading, save the planet, reduce our carbon footprint. Oh my God, warming. Well, if CO2 warms the atmosphere, and CO2 is a greenhouse gas, then all the CO2 would do, assuming I'm one person in 7 billion, even if I did everything correctly, my contribution would be zero. Even if I just slept in the street in a cardboard box, it would be zero. The individual, people keep saying, oh yeah, but everybody has to do their bit. Meanwhile, China and Russia and India have got all kinds of coal. They're using coal and things like that. Now, there are ways to make coal cleaner. You can use scrubbers and things like that. We all like scrubbers. Um, but the thing about it is this: they use the virtue signalling because they want people who get heat pumps simply for these reasons. They try to get a free, they want to get a free grant. The people who get this free grant are often the kind of people who complain about scroungers, i.e., people on benefits. They're scroungers, they're scrounging, they want something for free, and yet these people are happy to take £7,500 of taxpayers' money so that they can get a subsidised toy. And then they can boast about saving the planet, which means that now when they go on holiday, they can claim that they've offset their emissions. I mean, now when you go online, you get all this shit about saving the planet, and you get carbon emissions. If you take a flight or a bus or a train, it gives you the carbon emissions. I don't care about that. I would actually like a way to remove all that junk from my, because I want to know, what time does the train leave? What time does the train arrive? How much is the cost going to be? And which station does it leave from? That's all I need to know. I don't want to know about carbon emissions. Maybe they could make a system where those who are interested in carbon emissions can check them out. But for me, it's zero interest. I base all my travel on the time of departure, the time of arrival, and the cost of the travel. That's it. Nothing else matters to me, right? And whether or not you can, how much luggage you can take, right? I mean, I remember years ago we used to take a flight and you could bring up to 20 kilos. Now everything's a palaver, and that's why travel is no longer pleasurable. It's a nightmare as everybody tries to sneak in 1 centimetre extra bags on Ryanair or EasyJet, trying to play the system, hoping they'll get away with it. It's pathetic that it's come to this. But obviously, if you get a cheap flight, a super cheap flight, they're going to have to make their money somewhere else, which means they're going to be looking for you and your oversized bags, right? That's just the way it is. Now, the point about this is that the cheap teaser rates, were always going to rise in future. But in order to get people to get these things, it had to make sense financially. At least they needed to save money compared to gas. Never mind about the inconvenience of having it installed, the cost of having it installed, the ugliness of these things. Heat pumps are fucking hideous looking things, really awful. You see a nice old house with this great big thing outside. It's absolutely disgusting to look at. I mean, the aesthetics of a log fire are much nicer. Yes, I know about particulates. So these teaser rates, these reduced rates, these bonus rates, because what they're doing is they are actually subsidising EVs and heat pumps with concessionary rates, which means that people who don't use heat pumps and don't have EVs have to pay more. And now, inevitably, because of the economics of providing cheap electricity to people who want to, or people who pretend to want to save the planet, i.e. they want free grants and they want something for nothing and they want to look good in them. Because I know a lot of nice people who genuinely believe in the climate change hoax. And it is a hoax because it's a WEF. They don't want people travelling, and they want to control our energy. For example, now they're going to put pay per mile. And apart from anything else, nobody was told at the time, yeah, get an electric car and in a few years' time you'll have to pay per mile. This was never mentioned. So people bought electric vehicles, the depreciation on them is horrific, and now they're being told that they've got to pay per mile, right? But they should have accepted it. They should have understood it. They should have realised that that's what's going to happen. They get people to adopt something, and then later, when they're trapped, then they increase the prices. And again, electricity companies are there to make money. They're not there to save you money. They don't want people spending 50% less. They want people spending more, or they want to make at least more profit on the same amount of production. So either they increase the profit margins or they increase the consumption. Neither of which is particularly good in a way. They should encourage you to save money, but they're not going to, because their business is to get people to buy more of a product, not less. It doesn't make any sense to run a business and try to drive your customers, get them to stop using your product. Anyway, my 15 minutes is up. I'm very interested in heat pumps, but I'm also interested in the psychology behind how they lure people in to get them to want them. Thank you for your time.